Hey guys, today we're taking a look at my updated Prophecy deck. Now Prophecies or Spellbooks, whatever you want to call it, is really just a recycle focus deck. It really tries to manipulate the field and the graveyard with their Spellbook cards and allows them to special summon bosses and just put on some big hurt on your opponent. It depends on what kind of build you're going for, what you're going to focus on bringing out. I'm focusing on High Priestess. That's pretty much entirely what the build is trying to do, and I'll talk about kind of how it works as I get into the cards. For the cards, we're going to be running 3 High Priestess, obviously the main card of the deck, so you're going to be running 3, trying to get her out to really blow up your opponent and make big plays. Then we're going to be running 3 Justice of Prophecy, very nice consistency card, basically a card that gives you 2 cards, 2 very nice cards. You get your High Priestess and you get a Spellbook to set up what you need to do, which is very, very nice. Then 3 Spellbook Magician, another searcher, really nice that we're able to get whatever Spellbook spell card we need, so we can easily make plays with this. Obviously a very low monster count because the main focus is getting out High Priestess and it's a very spell heavy deck. We're also running 2 MST. MST is not necessary in this deck, but it definitely can help. 2 Pot of Duality, again getting the specific cards we need early on. We want to make this deck as fast as possible, so that's nice. 1 Raigeki, 1 Soul Charge, both are not necessary, but I still feel like they're very nice to have. I really like being able to get High Priestess back in case we lose it. And then 2 Spellbook Library of the Crescent. Between what we're trying to do with the tower and the Reckless Greed and the consistency of our graveyard, I feel like Crescent is nice to have. You can definitely run this at 3 if you want. 2 Spellbook of Eternity helping us out. 1 Spellbook of Fate, obviously a powerful card. That's why they have it limited, so it lets you do a lot of really good things depending on how many spellbooks you want to use. 1 Spellbook of Life. With our low monster count, it's kind of situational, but still, again, a very nice way to get out High Priestess, so just very nice to have one of those. 1 Spellbook of Power. We can use this and kind of loop it and make some nice plays with it. We don't really need more than 1, so we use 1 just to help us, kind of do some interesting loops and get the spellbooks back. 3 Spellbook of Secrets. Obviously, a free card in this deck. Very nice to be able to use this. 2 Spellbook of the Master. Really powerful to be able to reuse some of the normal spellbook cards, which are very nice to help the consistency. Again, just allowing us to use spellbooks like crazy. 2 Spellbook of Wisdom, kind of the MST in this deck, more of a protection card, so it can be very nice, especially when you want to protect High Priestess. You could definitely run this at 3 if you want. 2 Grand Spellbook Tower, very nice card for this deck, helping the consistency. Your opponent doesn't really want to destroy it as much because you get free cards, so running it at 2 seems to be okay, but you can run it at 3 if you want. Just, again, helping your consistency a lot to keep recycling and having the graveyard set so we can activate other things we want to do. For the traps, we're going to be running a few staples. We're going to be running 1 Fiendish Chain, 1 Phoenix Swing, Wind Blast. You can run more of either of these. Discarding a card is very easy for us because we can make use of spellbook cards in the graveyard and we can get rid of dead draws, so very nice with that. 3 Reckless Greed. We have draw power outside of drawing, so Reckless Greed becomes a very powerful card for this deck, especially when we need to set up things and get our plays out very quickly. So I do really like Reckless Greed for this deck. So now for the extra deck. The extra deck is not going to be pretty important in this deck. It's really not the focus. You can definitely run Prophecies without an extra deck. It just helps to have this in order to make just, some additional plays. Obviously you're going to have some rank 2s, rank 3s, and rank 7s. Daigusto Phoenix, just a nice one to have. Downerd Magician, obviously the only level 4 that we can make because we can rank up it, so that's nice to have for more power. Gachi Gachi, Gaia Dragon could be nice to finish your opponent off. Alucard, obviously a nice one to have. Socuteboss, very situational, but can be helpful to deal with certain low attack cards. 1 Herald, just helping us recycle things. 1 Hierophant, obviously, one of the key cards to the Prophecy, so a nice card to have access to make big plays for you. 1 Leviair, 1 Dracossack, obviously. 1 Angineer, very nice with our ability to get back spellbooks from flipping, so we can use Spellbook Magician with that, so that's kind of nice. 1 Big Eye, 1 Master of Blades, more rank 7s that help us out, Shining Elf and Zenmaines. Just the usual suspects, really nothing too specific for this deck, just the cards that we can actually make with our deck, which is pretty limited. So now for the side deck. If you haven't seen a side deck from me before or a video of mine, it's just basically recommended cards, ideas I'm throwing around, not really a side deck for the meta or for the matches that I'm going to be using it. I just want to, give people other ideas, other ways to build the deck. So you can definitely run Effect Veiler to deal with effects instead of Fiendish Chain. You can run more of these. You can add in Synchro, so your extra deck will have a little more power. So that's another thing that you can do. And obviously you can use this because it's a spellcaster with some of the other things you want to do. You can definitely run this deck with hands. It'll give you some more graveyard power, some more destruction, and some, rank 4 XYZ plays. You can easily run Gagaga Magician in this deck because if your deck is focused on rank 7s, you can easily make that, get out whatever rank 7s you want. But again, more focused on rank 7s and not as much on just High Priestess. I've seen Kycoo run in this deck, another spellcaster that can benefit from things, as well as annoying your opponent, which can be pretty powerful. And then your opponent obviously won't be able to banish your cards to keep you from doing some of the plays you want to do. Temperance, I used it in my last build. I'm not using it in this build. When it's just focused on High Priestess, I feel like Temperance is more, it's more aimed at World and more aimed at kind of a different kind of build. So I'm not running it in this build, but it's definitely a fine card, and you can definitely run it if you want. World of Prophecy, again, it's usually you'll run it with Temperance, so it really depends on what you're trying to do. I feel like World is kind of situational. If you build around it, it can be definitely powerful if you really set it up well. But in addition, I just don't think that it's the best way to run the build. I've seen both ways, and I could see the power behind a World of Prophecy build. I'm not going to say definitely that one's better. I'm just going with the High Priestess build, but keep that in mind if you're building this type of deck. There are definitely some other spell cards you might want to think about putting in. Magical Dimension could be powerful, but you don't want to put in too many non-spellbook cards. Heliosphere is kind of situational, not really with what we're doing with the graveyard. I don't think we're going to be running it, but it depends on what you're trying to do. Spellbook Star Hall, some people run this. I feel like it's not necessary. Can give you some extra power. Wonder Wand can give you some other draw power with some of our weaker prophecies, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. We don't have as much room for the staple traps, but you can run them if you want. Like Dimensional Prison can be powerful. I'd say to run, Phoenix Wing, Wind Blast instead. But also Raigeki Break you can run instead of Phoenix Wing just to destroy things. I feel like bouncing is more powerful these days, though. Royal Decree trap stun, probably more trap stun if you want to go for the power. It depends on what your deck's trying to do. If you're full on, spells to try to support the deck, then you can easily run Royal Decree. So it's up to you. Again, if you do run Effect Veiler, run Scrap Dragon, run whatever synchros you can get out with your deck. It's just, up to what you're building. And I guess I accidentally put Gaia Dragon in here, but there's really not much I'd consider running other than these cards. Maybe some other XYZs, if you want to put them in, but there's not a lot of variety. It really depends on what you're trying to do with this deck, but I feel like the extra deck is pretty much set. There's not a lot to do there, and there's not a lot to do with the main deck. It's really about numbers and what you think will really work well for your build. So that's my Prophecy deck. Again, just focused on High Priestess and a lot of Spellbook cards. That's really the main idea. A lot of Magic card usage in this deck. It annoys a lot of people, but definitely can be fun to get out High Priestess and blow over your opponent. It really depends on what you're going up against because of how the deck works. Destruction isn't as powerful, but you do still have those rank 7 plays, so you do still have access to some interesting stuff you can do. But if you guys do have a Prophecy deck, Spellbook deck, let me know in the comments. Make some suggestions for me. Maybe there's something I didn't think about. Maybe something in the side deck that I could have ran or didn't put in the main deck. Just let me know in the comments. But that's about it for me. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.